Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit more shorter-term technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, because if you guys have been watching the channel here over the last couple of days, you'll know that we've been discussing more longer-term theory for Bitcoin and discussing price targets for the next bull run and all kinds of things like that. But in today's video, I want to do some more shorter-term technical analysis and discuss where Bitcoin may be headed here over the next couple of days on into the next week or so, guys, because we're looking at a very important pattern for Bitcoin. As you can see, we have a shoulder right there, we have a head right here, and it looks like we're forming another shoulder, guys. This is a head and shoulders pattern, at least it looks like one is forming. And if you guys are unfamiliar with head and shoulders patterns, they're typically bearish reversal patterns that move a bull trend into a bear trend. They are reversal patterns and they are bearish. And it looks like we're forming one right now. Now, it's very possible that Bitcoin rallies from here and moves even higher. We'll discuss the possibility of that. But there's also a pretty good chance that Bitcoin falls down here all the way down to a level maybe around $6,000. So we want to discuss that and try to get to the bottom of what Bitcoin is going to do here over these next couple of days on into the next week or two. Because, of course, guys, we all want to know what Bitcoin's going to do so that we can trade it. So that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. If you guys do enjoy today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing that notification bell, guys. We've had something like 2,000 new subscribers in the last 4 or 5 days. So welcome if you're a new face here. We are happy to have you. Before we get on into the video, guys, though, I do want to mention that we are still running that sale on the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, guys. I'm going to be really straightforward here at the beginning of the video. We have a complete 0 questions asked refund guarantee. We've had nearly 400 people go through the course. Not one of them has ever wanted their money back. I'll flash proof of that up on screen right now, guys. We have 33 videos, over 9 hours of content, more always coming. You never have to pay for new content. It gets uploaded to the course and it's yours. There's a one-time charge and you'll learn everything you need to know to get started working in the Bitcoin market and prepare for the next Bitcoin bull run. Check the link in the description down below. Use a 20% off coupon code 20K2019. Hop on in and join our growing community. Anyway, guys, now actually without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. Bitcoin currently finds itself trading around $7,340 or so. If we come in here to the 5-minute chart, what we're going to see is that Bitcoin did have that massive dump that we talked about in yesterday's video. If you didn't see yesterday's video, go back and watch that. We did actually a time lapse of this. I managed to catch all of this movement over here on camera, and we had some really cheesy music going in the background. I was very pleased with that. But Bitcoin ran up and tested all the way up to $5,000, or so, excuse me, $7,500 before we actually formed this kind of little miniature inverse head, this little miniature regular head and shoulders pattern right here that I just drew on the chart. And this is one of the things I want to point out before we get into the main topic in today's video, is sometimes technical analysis isn't going to play out. Everything is a game of statistics and probabilities. I'm going to go ahead and plug the course and mention a video in here, a game of statistics and probabilities. That is what technical analysis is. It's not a crystal ball. It's not a method by which you can predict what the market is going to do with 100% accuracy. If you want that, you need to go get a time machine, because you cannot predict what the market is going to do with 100% accuracy. No one can. If anyone tells you that is possible, they are a hack, they are wrong, and they're lying to you, and they're taking advantage of you. No one can predict with 100% certainty what will happen. There are certain technical indicators, there are certain chart formations that give you that give the market a higher chance of something happening. For example, here we saw kind of a little wonky head and shoulders pattern right here on Bitcoin, and it didn't really push Bitcoin down all that far. We just pushed down here just a little bit, and then now over the last couple of hours or so, Bitcoin's actually rallying to the upside. Just because you saw a head and shoulders pattern doesn't mean that a massive downtrend is coming, and that's one of the things I want to mention in today's video, is that just because we're seeing this this head and shoulders pattern on the hourly chart doesn't necessarily mean major bearishness for Bitcoin, but a lot of times it does, and that's what we want to talk about here, is this. What we've seen here, guys, we need to do a little bit more longer term TA before we can dive on into this. What we've seen here, guys, is we've seen a massive parabolic run. Bitcoin ran 150% from the bottom over here on February the 8th all the way up to our top back over here on the 16th of May, just a few days ago. Bitcoin ran 148%. Gigantic rally over the course of 97 days. That's one of the biggest rallies in the history of Bitcoin. It was one of the longest rallies in the history of Bitcoin. Massive, massive gains were made without so much as a single pullback. And Bitcoin didn't just do that movement for no reason. Bitcoin has done this kind of thing before. As we can see over here, Bitcoin ran 150% back in September and October of 2015, ran for about 80 days or so, just a little bit shorter than the parabolic run we're looking at now, and it ran 150%. From there, Bitcoin pulled all the way back down to $300, which was the analogous level that Bitcoin is trading at right now. $3,000 equals $6,000 in our current market. You can see how Bitcoin was using it as support in the bear market, then came up and tested it during the accumulation phase, and then broke through it at the beginning of the bull market. That's how Bitcoin did that. And in 2015, Bitcoin pulled back down to it and tested support at it. That level would be right around here on our chart. That actually happened again way back in history over here, but we're not going to go into that. The point I'm trying to make is that when Bitcoin starts a bull market, it has a gigantic rally, over 100%. We've seen that happen during all three bull markets, including the one that we just started. And from there, guys, something interesting happens. Bitcoin doesn't go gigantic parabolic bull run-ness all day long. It doesn't do that kind of thing just yet. It's not ready for that. What it does instead is Bitcoin actually consolidates, and Bitcoin loses a lot of its volatility over the course of several months up until the halving. And the halving back over here happened somewhere, I believe it was in May of 2016, and the next halving is going to happen somewhere around May or so in 2021, in 2020. I don't remember the exact day or month, but it's going to happen sometime in 2020. So just because Bitcoin has had this gigantic run does not mean that Bitcoin's just going to go to the stars, guys. Bitcoin is not just going to go straight to $20,000. That's just not how these markets work, guys. Just because we've seen a massive amount of bullishness right now, that doesn't mean that we're here in the bull market. Let me bring up the log chart to make this a little more obvious. Just because we've seen a massive rally does not mean that we're here in the bull market, and thank God we're not, because this is the end of the bull market. It means that we're here in the bull market, guys. This is where we are right now, not here. We're not here. That's not where we are. We are back over here. And that's a good thing. Like I said, it's a good thing that we're back over here in the market, because if we were here, I mean, the bull market was almost over. The bull market has just started, guys. So one thing that you have to keep in mind is that the bull market has just started, so the Bitcoin bull market is not going to be as absolutely ludicrously profitable and just insane as it was at the end of 2017, because we've just started, guys. We haven't had a ton of institutions step into the market during the bull market yet. We haven't had a ton of people rejoin the market. We haven't had that flood of adoption happen. We haven't had the mainstream media picking up on it. We haven't had the regulators start talking about it. We haven't had all that attention yet. So Bitcoin isn't ready for a gigantic rally. Bitcoin is not ready to go to $15,000 in the next 2 or 3 months. It's not ready for $20,000 in the next 2 or 3 months. And I think a lot of people were expecting that, but that's just not the way this is going to work, guys. Bitcoin follows cycles. And the next part of the cycle, based on what our technical analysis says, is that Bitcoin should come down here to $6,000, maybe $6,500, maybe even something like $6,800, but it should come down a little bit more. We should have some kind of retracement. Let's go ahead and look here at the 20 exponential moving average to see what Bitcoin did back over here in 2015 or so. When Bitcoin went on this parabolic run, it was using this moving average as a level of support. And then Bitcoin came down and broke through it, actually, and entered kind of a downtrend. But Bitcoin didn't go very far because it was above its support. And then from there, we rallied back up above it into another major bull run. But as you guys can see, Bitcoin came down and tested that 20 exponential moving average perfectly. This was absolutely beautiful just a couple days ago. On the 17th of May, Bitcoin came down and tested that 20 exponential moving average, and we bounced very, very well. Bitcoin came back up. Guys, what I'm trying to segue into is I'm trying to segue into the bearish case for Bitcoin, because I think there's a very compelling one to say that Bitcoin is going to come down here, maybe to somewhere around $6,000 to $6,500. Let's go ahead in here to the hourly chart and we'll talk about that as well, because as we can see on the longer term time frames, it seems to make sense that we should see some kind of pullback, maybe down to around the $6,000 level. Now, like I said, we're going to play devil's advocate. We're going to talk about the bullish case here in a minute, but as I like to do, I'm going to give you guys both sides of the story, weigh in with which one I think is more likely, and then throw it back to you guys. That's the way I like doing the technical analysis, and you guys seem to like it also, so that's what we're going to do here. But as I said, the longer term kind of predicts that we should see some kind of pullback. Nothing major, guys. I'm talking maybe 10% here, maybe 15% here. I'm not saying end of the world, end of the bull market kind of stuff, just a pullback to let the bulls cool off a little bit, let the bears feel like they're winning something for once, and then actually we'll go back on our rally. But as we can see here, guys, on the long term, it seems like Bitcoin should be bearish. On the medium term, we're seeing this head and shoulders pattern. So if we're seeing this head and shoulders pattern, doesn't that mean that we should see a pullback? Yes, it does mean we should see a pullback. Head and shoulders patterns are bearish. We have a really very well-defined shoulder line right here. We have a well-defined neckline right here. We have a very well-structured head and shoulders pattern. If Bitcoin, and this is a big if Bitcoin continues to reject from $7,400, if it does that and it doesn't break up above it and do something like that, if we continue to reject from $7,400, then this will be an inverse will be a head and shoulders pattern, and Bitcoin will crash. Where will it crash to, guys? That's kind of hard to predict, because head and shoulders patterns, I don't really like the way you do targets on H&Ss, so I'm not really even going to use it in this video. But the target should be somewhere between $6,000 to $6,500, somewhere down here, between 6 and 6.8K. Bitcoin will obviously go below 6.8K if it does follow through on the head and shoulders pattern, because $6,800. $6,800 is the neckline, but from there, Bitcoin will probably go to somewhere between $6,000 and $6,500. If Bitcoin does follow through in this bearish scenario, I'll discuss more price targets when the time comes. I'm not going to get into them in today's video because this video is already getting a little bit long, but if Bitcoin does follow through on this HNS, we're probably going to go down somewhere close to $6,000. And by the way, guys, before we get to the bullish case and the bullish scenario, I think that's a good thing. I would love to see Bitcoin come down to $6,000. Of course, I accumulated a ton of Bitcoin during the bear market, but there's always time to accumulate more. We're always making more money that we can put into the Bitcoin market. It's never a bad thing to see Bitcoin have a correction so that you can buy more Bitcoin for the long term. I saw someone in the comment section yesterday asking, should I be buying a lot of Bitcoin for the very long term? Does it really matter where I buy the Bitcoin? The answer to both of those questions is yes, in my humble opinion. Yes, you should be buying Bitcoin for the long term. And yes, it does matter what price you buy at it. If Bitcoin goes to $200,000 and you bought it at 180, so what? You made what, you made a tiny gain. You made a 10% gain. So what? But if you buy Bitcoin at 6K, you made what, I'm not doing the math off the top of my head, a 30x gain. Gigantic difference. You need to be able to do these kind of things and buy Bitcoin at the right time. So that's the bearish scenario. Let's discuss the bullish scenario, and then we'll wrap this video up with a nice little bow on top. The first thing that I want to mention with the bullish scenario is this. Bitcoin just started a Bitcoin bull market. Bitcoin just had a Bitcoin bull run. Bitcoin is very exuberant right now, and just about everyone in the market is ridiculously excited for what's going to happen over the next couple of years. I think that really speaks for itself. People are very excited for Bitcoin. They're very excited for the bullish case for Bitcoin. And there are so many people walking down to the bank right now, taking out a loan, leveraging money against their house, against their new Mercedes that they bought at the end of 2017 to buy more Bitcoin. There's plenty of people doing that. You don't have to find a statistic on that. I think we all can agree that there are people trying to get into the Bitcoin market in any way they can right now, because if you are in the market right now, you're probably smart enough to see the writing on the wall and see what's going to happen, or you wouldn't be in the Bitcoin market right now. You're not one of the masses that joined the market in 2017 and bought at $18,000 and didn't know what you were doing. The people that are entering the market now are the early adopters of this bull market. So they know what they're doing. They realize a bull market's coming and they are ready for it. They're preparing for it. They are buying Bitcoin. That's a very important buying pressure that we want to see on Bitcoin. And also, since we are talking devil's advocate and we are playing against the argument that I made earlier, I want to go back to 2015 and point something very important out. When I was doing technical analysis, and by the way, when most of the technical analysts were doing this, so this was, I guess you could say, a mistake on my part, but it was something that a lot of people misunderstood. When we were doing technical analysis, we were expecting that perhaps Bitcoin would have a rejection off of $6,000 and then rally into a bull market from there. And one of the reasons why a lot of people, including myself, thought that was because Bitcoin was following the 2015 accumulation phase to a T, and the bear market as well. We were following this market almost perfectly. And before Bitcoin started its bull market, we did see a little rally up to what would be $6,000 in our market, then a pullback, then a bull market. That's what we were expecting. Bitcoin broke all expectations and rallied straight through there. And on this rally, it basically started the bull market over here instead of over here. And what Bitcoin did in our case is that Bitcoin started over here. Now, that's an important difference that I want to make sure you guys understand. Bitcoin did not follow 2015 to the T from there. So Bitcoin didn't do exactly what it did in 2015, which means that all of our perfect predictions that we had from 2015 being our crystal ball, got broken. And the reason for that was because markets are not perfectly predictable entities. Just because Bitcoin did something just like this in 2015 doesn't mean that it's going to do it exactly the same in the future. And that's definitely a lesson that I've learned. You always have to learn from your mistakes, and that was a mistake of mine. But here's the thing. Because Bitcoin didn't do exactly what it did in 2015 here, there's a very good chance that Bitcoin isn't going to do exactly what it did in 2015 here, where it had a massive pullback and then traded sideways on into the next bull market. So what we've seen happen is basically our credibility for 2015 has been reduced a little bit, because it's no longer batting 1,000, it's batting like 850. Bitcoin is pretty well predicted by 2015, but not perfectly. So it's possible that Bitcoin doesn't follow what it did in 2015. It comes back to the 20 exponential moving average and bounces from there and never has to see $6,000 ever again. That's a very good possibility, and one that I want to make sure you guys understand can happen. Even though what I said earlier I do think is probably the more likely scenario, only by a slight margin, there is still a chance that Bitcoin can rally here. There's a lot more bullishness in the market now than there was in 2015, if you'll believe that. Now, it would have been a better idea to be buying back down here than now, I think, because Bitcoin is going to rally so much less this bull market than it did last time. Bitcoin rallied 10,000% in the last bull market. If we did that again, Bitcoin would be trading nearly $1 million. But I do still think that there is a good argument to be made for the bulls as well as the bears. Now, like I said, I'm giving both sides of the story because what I want you to do is take both sides of this argument and go apply it to your own TA and come to your own conclusions. So here's what I think, guys. Here's exactly what I think. I think that it's all going to be decided here in the next 12 hours from the time I'm recording this. That's what I think. Whether or not Bitcoin gets above $7,400 and starts moving to the upside, or if it rejects off of it and starts heading down to $7,000, that is the decision point. From there, it'll be much easier to determine which side is going to win, be it the bulls or the bears. The decision is going to be kind of locked in. Right now, the coin is still flipping in the air and we're waiting for it to land. When it lands, it's going to come up heads for bulls, tails for bears, and when we see that happen, then we can start talking about price targets for each direction. But right now, while Bitcoin is sitting here trading around this level of resistance, it's kind of hard for us to just go ahead and say this is what's going to happen or this is what's not going to happen because the market is still deciding. But by the way, guys, like I said earlier, we are seeing a head and shoulders pattern here on even the longer term time frames. So perhaps that is going to reject us from $7,400 on the short term, and that'll exacerbate into a longer term rally out on the hourly chart, and then maybe that would start showing up on other charts. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in today's video. I wanted to talk about the bullish case and the bearish case and show you guys that Bitcoin can really go either direction right now. I think there's a good argument to be made for both sides, but if I were to weigh in on which side I think is more likely, I think that ever so slightly the bears are more likely to pull back down to $6,000. And by ever so slightly, I mean like 55-45. That's the kind of likelihood I'm talking about. It's not that I'm putting 80% of my prediction behind the bears. It's not like that. I think they're just a little stronger right now, and that can change on a moment's notice. And you have to let that change on a moment's notice, because if you lock in a prediction and the market changes and you don't update your prediction, you are one of the worst technical analysts in the world. You have to be able to update your predictions on the fly in the light of new evidence. That's very, very important. So that's why I'm really holding off before I make a more certain prediction as to whether or not Bitcoin's going to go up or down until Bitcoin either breaks or rejects properly from $7,400. We'll see how that plays out here in the next 12 to 24 hours. I think we're going to have a decision on that from Bitcoin within the next 48 hours at the very latest. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for the technical analysis portion of today's video. I do hope you did enjoy that, and tell me in the comment section down below, where do you think Bitcoin is going to go? Do you think Bitcoin is going to follow through on this head and shoulders pattern and start moving to the downside? If so, where do you think it's going to go? Do you think it's going to go to $6,000? Do you think it's going to go to 5? 3, 1. I've seen some crazy predictions. I've seen people saying, guys, you are full of it. Bitcoin's going to $4,000. I'm shorting. And then they lose money because I don't think that's going to happen. But either way, there are people that think that. And if you think that, that's perfectly fine. I just think you're wrong. Tell me in the comment section down below where you think Bitcoin is headed. But before we wrap up, guys, I do want to mention a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to be away for a couple of days because I have a funeral to go to, actually. My grandmother passed away on Tuesday at about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So I'm going to be on a road trip tomorrow. I have to drive up to the town that she lives in, or lived in, and the funeral will be on Monday, and I'll be driving back on either Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'll be back a couple of days after that. Today, I have to leave tomorrow, so today I have a bunch of errands to run for that, but I'm going to be trying to batch record videos for while I'm gone, so those are going to be longer-term videos for Bitcoin, so I do apologize if they are a little less topical. But at least you guys will have something while I'm gone, and I'll try to make videos when I get back. Anyway, guys, I kind of lost my composure there, but we're going to go ahead and wrap the video up, guys. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, but before we end it, I will mention again, we are running the sale on CT2A, but because of what I just said, I'm not going to dive into the sales pitch. I think that would be very disrespectful, so links in the description if you want. I'm not going to get into it at the end of the video here. Anyway, guys, I do hope you did enjoy today's video. I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always, and supporting the channel. It does mean a whole lot. Thank you, guys. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Like I said, hopefully there will be videos going out. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.